Hello, this is Mind the Gap, and I'm your host, Tim Dunn.
Please mind the gap.
If you listened to the very first series of Mind the Gap, and if you didn't, go and download it now. They're just lovely. You'll have heard how every element of our transport network, from town announcements to architecture, is the result of over 160 years of dedication by staff and Londoners alike. But if there's one thing that cannot stand still, it's the transport system. It's always evolving to better serve the city and its people. This year, there's a really exciting project to help customers now and in the future, and that's going to mean evolution in real life and on maps of the London Overground. Hello, and thanks for joining me once again. This time I brought you to Romford in the borough of Havering, North East London of all places. But this time we're going to begin a journey together on the Overground on the newly named bit that is now known as the Liberty Line. This unique service is a little shuttle that goes between here in Romford down to Upminster on the District Line, pausing only at Emerson Park in the middle of its just 3-mile-long single track. Its one train runs from an almost independent platform some way off the main Romford station out the back of it. The journey takes just, 8 minutes? Now, out on its own, doing its own thing. That sounds like a liberty to me. But the name Liberty Line refers, so I'm told, to the area's historic name, triggeringly named Liberty of Havering. Now, I'm not entirely sure what that actually means, I'll be honest with you, but I do know some people who do. Let's go and find out.
Romford. This train terminates here. All change, please.
Okay, so bear with me on this, because I know I'm a bit of a nerd on these things, but I do always think the best place to understand a town, I reckon, is usually going to the museum. And just a stone's throw, or maybe two, from the station itself is Havering's Museum. Now, it's not exactly what I expected, I'll be honest. It seems to occupy not a modern building, but actually it's part of this massive yellow stock brick Georgian building. And actually, this is the old town brewery, isn't it? Yeah, this is the brewery. Anyway, this local community museum is run by volunteers. And it's apparently full of artefacts and objects from the 5 towns of Havering. And 2 of the team inside, I've been told, are keen as beans to have a chat all about Havering and what this liberty actually was. First up is the former director, Ellen Owen, who's now the event facilitator. Now, she's inside having some coffee, so I think it's time to interrupt her rudely. I'm going to have a chat with her and press her on what on earth is a Liberty of Havering and what is this place all about. I wanted to understand a little bit more about what actually a liberty is, because you're probably the best person to talk about this. Like, in the museum, what exactly is a liberty, and why do local people of Havering celebrate being a liberty?
Right. Well, Liberty of Havering goes back to it's either 45 or 47. The market was formed on one of those years, and then Liberty came after, so it's probably 47. And the Crown gave us the right, because we were very, very famous back then, because Romford was a thriving business, a market town, that people from London, Inns of Court, some of them owned the market at certain stages throughout history. Yeah. But early days, the king, he actually gave a liberty to Havering, which meant we didn't have to pay taxes or the tolls for coming over the roads, and we could try our own people. So if we've caught a highwayman and we need to do justice, because we have Gallows Corner up the top.
Hang on a minute, hang on.
Hang on, yes.
Hang on. But why is the king bestowing it upon the people of Havering and Romford? What's special about this place? I mean, he doesn't do it I grew up in High Wycombe and Gerrard's Cross in Buckinghamshire. We weren't a liberty. Why did you get to become a liberty back then?
Well, as far as I know, he liked us. It's all about how they managed the estates back then, because the land, like the market, was leased out. The Crown owned it for many, many centuries, okay. But then the king, I can't remember which one it was, he decided he could sell it on. You got 99-year lease,
Right.
And then the next person, and then the next person. So they were making money. It wasn't till around, I think, the 1800s, towards the 1900s, it started becoming private ownership.
So basically, you got some land around here. The local area was owned by the king, and then it was then sold on. And you've got these different landowners subsequently who have then carried on this special sort of ownership rights of having no taxes and so on. When did it stop? I mean, is it still going now? Because if you look at the borough,
well, there's no tolls. We've gone away with the tolls. Times have moved on.
Yeah.
One of the reasons for our area, we were rural, and we had the cattle market, and we had the brewery, and the brewery goes back to 1799. Now, the railway came in 1838 to Romford, whereas they used to drive the sheep to Romford Market.
Yeah.
And part of the liberty and law, this is still law today, you cannot set up a market within 6 miles of Romford Market. That's part of the liberty. The reason behind that is 6 miles, that's as far as a sheep could walk in a day. So that law has come back into force twice in the last 10 years.
No.
Traders of Romford Market, it's still extant. I think Brentwood or Dagenham, they wanted to set up markets, but it was within the 6 miles. They went to court and they won because that law still exists, part of the liberty. Yeah.
Whose court was it? Was it your court here was it someone else's court?
No, London. London. Yeah, not our own courts. Ours disappeared. Yeah.
I love this. So we've got this liberty, this area of special legal status has been set up. Even today, it feels like a different kind of place. It's about living somewhere that's a little bit independent, a little bit of independent spirit.
It is, yes. And 1965, that's when Havering came into force. We were a lot bigger prior to that. So Havering didn't exist till 1965.
And what happened in 1965? Because there was a little council change, wasn't there?
And we became Havering.
What was it before that then? It was
Essex.
Just Essex County Council. Yeah.
So that our history in the museum, we don't start 1965. We go back further, 1245. We've got all the pictures and the cattle market and the brewery. So because that's the area.
Okay.
Yeah, and another place that we're famous for is Old Church Hospital. Yeah, that used to be a workhouse. Now the workhouse, and Orson Welles, he gave up all his money and he went into Old Church Workhouse so he could write authentically about what it's like to live in a workhouse. Yeah, that was in Old Church Road. Yeah, it's gone now.
Oh, the workhouse has gone. Well, I mean, I'm pleased to say it's gone, but,
It became a hospital, Old Church Hospital, for many, many years. Yeah. And early days, linking, these are quite amusing stories, you link Old Church Hospital, the workhouse, and then you have the brewery, and then how do we recruit nurses? How do we get them to come?
Yeah.
And the wages aren't that great, because in the early days, we've got wells all around Havering, where
and
the water
wells.
used to come from.
Yeah.
No, the water this time. And but for children, it wasn't hygienic. It wasn't pure water. So they used to give the babies spoons of beer from Romford Brewery.
And why not? I mean, you are independent around here. I mean, you're thinking differently.
Yeah, I'm Irish. I got Guinness. Yeah. But from the point of but they advertise the nurses to come to Romford to work in Old Church Hospital. You get X salary, but you also get so many pints of beer.
Wow.
How could you do that?
I mean, the past is a foreign country, we often say, don't we? But I mean...
It's quite exciting, when you think about it.
It is quite... I mean, I still can't understand what this whole place is, because on one hand, I'm thinking this is a historic thing, this liberty of Havering.
Yeah.
But I'm also conscious that it's still reflected today, actually, as you said, in your independence of thinking and where you do things. Because even your museum is independent, isn't it? Like you don't actually have funding by the council. You support this yourself, the museum.
Yeah. It took... Brian was one of the original friends. It was the friends to start with that wanted a museum. And with Ian Wilkes and Brian and several others, They campaigned for 10 years and they collected artefacts in their houses, and they're like Aladdin's caves.
Stashing stuff away, or from skips and things, really?
And stuff in there that we found in skips that Howard Hospital was chucking away a quilted thing of all the different areas in the borough that someone had made, but when they got rid of the hospital, chucks in a skip, someone found it, cleaned it, and it's now proudly hanging in the museum.
Why do you think it's important for local people to learn the history of perhaps the borough and the liberties? Is it part of the identity of local people, do you think?
It is, yes. Like, we're in the building which was Romford Brewery.
Yeah.
The whole shopping complex was Romford Brewery. Yeah. And it's significant, So when we initially opened, they thought it was going to be a Romford Brewery museum, but it's not. It's local history, because we want to bring their stories in. People, if you give them a story, they will remember it. And there's so many different stories that you can tell, and it's energising. And they go, I'd like to learn more about that. My passion is wartime.
Okay.
And people's stories.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And that's what I'm saying from you. The history is not just the objects that go out there. Those objects are the starting point, like places, aren't they? They
trigger.
Exactly that, right? And it's history is about people, isn't it? Not about objects.
It's about passion and people, learning from history, letting that inspire you. It's got to inspire you.
And out of there, Liberty Line is being renamed and it's being changed. And it's going to be, I know it's a small railway line. It's a little railway line that goes between two places, Romford and Upminster, shuttles back and forth. It used to be called the push-pull, didn't it?
Yeah, push and pull.
The push and pull, because you call it the push and pull.
I'll call it push and pull.
And now it's called the Liberty Line. And that's reflects perhaps, how do you think people are going to take that in the area? Do you think people will like it? Will it reinforce people's thinking about the liberty and what liberty means?
It will reflect a little bit on history, but not everyone knows about the liberty of Havering. But what it does inspire is a liberty and freedom and going about. That's what the liberty is about, and autonomy. And Havering is brilliant. It's moving forward, but it's that link to that liberty and the marketplace. 1247. There's so much history going on, and. Can I give you another different one?
Go on, give us
liberty. Colonel Blood tried to steal the crown jewels.
When?
Yesterday. Well, he tried to steal the crown jewels.
Okay.
The king, he was a gentleman. He was off fighting for the king, and then they took his lands away from him, and then he came back, he had no lands. Well, that's not fair, is it?
No.
So anyway, Colonel Blood, he decided, I'm going to steal the crown jewels.
Right.
So he made friends with the keeper of the Tower of London. Now, the jewels were not in what we see today.
No, they were just set differently.
They were in a cupboard, and there was a gentleman downstairs who looked after them that had a key. And somewhere there was a couple of guards around, right? So he made friends with them, and then he got himself invited to tea, and then he took a couple of people with him. And then they coshed the gentleman over the head. And with his accomplices, they got the orb, the stick, and the crown. Now, they're very clever men, Well, one tried to saw the stick, what do you call it?
Sceptre.
The sceptre. He tried to saw it in half and put it down the leg of his trousers. The other one tried to put the orb inside his trousers.
Is that a sceptre down your trousers? Or,
a sceptre down his trousers. And then the orb. The other one had the orb. Down there.
Where did you put that?
Down there. And the other one bashed the crown to try and get it onto his cloak. They did get caught. However, the important thing is, the moral.
What can we learn from this?
Crime doesn't pay. He ran away, but they caught him. He hid out in Romford Market, number 33 Romford Market. So if you go up, it doesn't exist, the building anymore, but that's where he was. He hid out and he was an apothecary, but they found him. And the king, sent him to jail briefly. And he said, it was so funny that I'm going to pay you £500 a year. as a pension. 500, we're going back sometime, yeah. So crime doesn't pay, does it?
Yeah, but did they find the orb, though?
Yes, they fixed it. There's no more dents and the crown's been fixed. But this is a true story, yeah. That's why history's fascinating.
Exactly that. You bring history alive, and I think that is what I take from this. You're taking this wonderful history, you've got a lovely town you've got, and actually that's what the Liberty Design is doing as well, isn't it? It's bringing history alive.
Oh, yes.
You're doing it, reflecting back on this, and it's about you contributing back into the community and bringing the past alive and giving the local town an identity again in the future, and that is lovely. And the way you do that with your walks and the museum is brilliant, so thank you very much. Yeah.
We've had sightings on the ghost walks. I should have charged them more. Do you know what I mean? God, if only I'd known, yeah.
Right, time to go look around the museum now. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Okay.
Thank you. Now perhaps this is what I mean about getting the measure of a town or getting somewhere if you come into a museum. And doesn't Ellen embody everything about the passion that local historians have about a place and inspiring people? Because she's not alone here. We're also going to meet Brian Evans now, who is a man with a lifelong love affair with local history, and tell us about how the people of Havering have basically created what seems to be an independent state around themselves for years. Actually, he's the author of about 30 books or so on this area. So I'm pretty sure there's no one better to guide us through this weird and wonderful history. Now, let's go and find Brian. So we're here in the museum, Brian. Just introduce yourself to me. Who are you and what are you doing in this museum?
Well, I was a reference librarian that came to Romford in 1960. I knew about Romford. I've been brought to the cattle market as a child by my parents. My aunt lived in Morney Road, and so I already knew a little bit about Romford, but I knew it was somewhere fantastic to come to.
Are you a founder of the museum?
Yeah, I mean, we were the original people, really, that founded the museum, Ivan Sparks and myself, and we knew that the story of this borough hadn't been told. So we started this Romford Record magazine, which went on for 50 years.
50 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
We were keen. We were collecting things like the inn signs that are in the other room.
What, from where? From skips or what? Where stuff was being knocked down? So you collecting stuff?
And then, of course, you enthuse other people. Well, because now I'm a director and I'm also assistant sort of chairman of the Friends.
You say it's a Liberty of Havering?
Yeah.
What makes it special then? Why has it got these special powers?
Because of all these freedoms that the people a lot of them were rich people, but there tended eventually to be a clique in charge of the... and it started to lose power about 1620, because that was a time when people were getting a bit fed up with the king. James I and Charles. James I looked into the Liberty records and to the Manor records, and he thought, wait a minute, when... this area was given some of these privileges when it was the manor, first of all.
Yes.
I had all this woodland.
Right.
By the time I've come to power, I've looked into this, there's no woodland left. This was happening all over Britain. It was called a sartin. What people were taking the woodland and converting it into farmland.
Let's go back in time, though, at the start of this creation of this liberty. So what exactly was it about the royal land? You said when is it Edward the Confessor came after William the Conqueror? What happened when
it just built up?
This manor?
It just built up over the years. And I mean, I can go, in a way, you can go back even further, because this was the market town.
Of course.
So it was the big draw. That was another thing. The market was created in 1247. It was still like a village in the 19th century from the point of view of mass. Romford, it was just a marketplace. The High Street, North Street and South Street, and all of these ended in countryside. Well, that was pretty open.
And what caused this whole town to expand so rapidly? Why did it become so large, Romford? Is it because was it the railway that brought in all that money? What happened to this town to make it so large?
People were coming to Romford Market. Any market has a big draw, and obviously The railway took some time, like it often did, to build up the population locally, because South Street was houses, but suddenly, in the 30s, it became one of the biggest shopping centres in London, in the London area. The Golden Mile, it was called, South Street, down to between here and the station. Yeah, and because before that had been independent people, local people. There was always somehow there were always entrepreneurs in Romford, and people liked these little shops. So people came here, especially at Christmas. I mean, up to the 70s, they were still running trips from sort of Colchester and Brighton and places like that at Christmas into Romford, so people could see the shops. But gradually, the bigger shops came in the 20s and 30s.
Well, let's talk about the building we're in right now. This is a very large industrial building, isn't it? This is the old brewery. So was the brewery important to Romford as a town, to employ people?
I mean, Romford didn't have many industries, did it, going back? The brewery, from about 1799, it had been a small little pub that started doing good beer, so it gradually extended over down at the station end, and there was something called the Star Inn, which you can still see on the side of the shop that it became. In the 30s, they converted that into partly probably because of wartime, into sort of like a jazzy bar. Yeah, and the American servicemen loved it in the wartime. So that was sort of like a modernisation. It's always moved on. Somehow, Romford's always moved on.
So let's talk about then the creation of this, the Liberty of Havering. What year are we talking about here? When was it known?
1465, which is strangely, it was a long time after they had the market, but 1247, that was... In fact, the local people started a market on the highway because, I don't know if you know, Romford was really down at Old Church, where the hospital is now.
No, I didn't know that.
To the south. Because Liberty is actually on the present crest of the London Overground.
Now, I spotted that.
So you've got the market, yes.
Okay, yes, so the market's been created.
Yeah, people come in from London and quite wealthy people. So they were the people who wanted the power of freedom because they were used to the kind of freedoms perhaps in the City of London that their status gave them there. They wanted to carry that into there where they lived in the country. These houses were sort of just country retreats, really, but they were important to them. But it still meant a lot of freedom, and the serfdom went out from Havering much earlier than anywhere else.
Brian, exactly what, in a liberty, what happens to people if they live in a liberty? What is given to them? What rights are bestowed upon those people?
Yeah, it's in here, in the docket.
The docket?
The docket was something that the High Steward, you had a High Steward, he was the one who was in charge of the liberty.
Right.
He was appointed from these rich people. Anyway, this docket has got text here. They didn't have to pay tolls, toll-free and quit and discharge, from payment of any toll pontage, that's going over bridges where you were charging toll bridges. There's still a few bridges in England where you have to pay to go over, aren't there? Apart from the big ones, little ones. Murage, right away, that is, in any city, borough, town, fair market or other place, whatever, whole of Britain.
Whatever.
These are to give you knowledge that the bearer hereof is one of the tenants of the said manor, and is therefore to be free from payment of any toll, pontage, murage, or passage, or aforesaid, as aforesaid. In witness whereof the common seal of the manor aforesaid is here unto set and affixed the first day of May in the 4th year of the reign of our sovereign Lord George the 4th, by the grace of God of the United Kingdom. So
hang on, in the year of our Lord 1823. It says 1823 this one is.
Yeah, so it was going on. It was reaffirmed by Edward IV was the one that gave it, chartered it. But then Elizabeth the first, who came quite often to Havering, she came to Gidea Hall. They had to find all this food for her because, when the royals came in those days, they had to send to the continent sometimes to get the food, even though this was a market town.
So what in the museum now have you got that was around at that time you could show us, perhaps?
we got a lady called Miss Hammond.
Miss Hammond?
Yes.
She's not here, is she?
No, she's dead now, unfortunately. When I came, she lived in a Victorian house, and it was full of Victorian items. So we had our eye on that.
So you went in there, and it was untouched. So it was like all
yes, it
originals,
was actually, yeah,
like a time
But
capsule.
It's under the Mercury Gardens roundabout now, unfortunately.
But what you mentioned a clock.
The clock, yeah. The clock was the old Corn Exchange clock, so that was really, it was really Liberty times still. What happened, that was a big, all the people in the market that wanted to sort of check the goodness of the flat grain and all that went in there, and then it became Woolworths in the 30s, so they put floors in, and this clock was up in the loft. And it was only because we were interested, and I had to stop doing work and do overtime unpaid sometimes, because somebody came in and they said, "Oh, I've got some pieces of the Liberty clock, the Corn Exchange clock."
Yeah.
And it's made out of wood, of course.
Of course.
But it's got all lovely things. I think they're leaves of hops.
Hops,
Hop
yeah,
leaves.
yeah,
I think they're hop leaves, aren't they? Around the outside. It didn't have its hands anymore, but he managed to rescue it because he was a local interested in history. So we tried to talk to everybody like that.
So let's fast forward to now, and we heard the news.
Yeah.
Or you heard the news that we've got the local railway, the push and pull.
Yes, the push and pull.
The push and pull line.
Yeah.
Because that's how I thought of it. Because I know the history of the railway coming to Romford and to Upminster and down to the Thames and to Grays and Tilbury.
Yeah.
But what do you think about the name, the Liberty Line? Well, are you happy it's been named that? Are you pleased?
At first, you're always rolling it round in your mind and you're a bit doubtful. Yeah. And then now, of course, I'm a convert. Because I realise how important it is, to remember the liberty. Yeah, but it's quite good, really, because people in this borough take liberties, I mean, I hope people don't get upset, but in other words, they're independent still.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about, against the tide. And this is what the liberty was about, wasn't it?
Exactly.
100 years ahead of everybody else. Yeah.
Brian, I could spend all day in the museum. In fact, quite often I often do. So I think it's time to get some daylight outside. It's a lovely day outside.
Yeah.
So can you go and show me perhaps,
or
show us some things outside that reflect the liberty? Let's talk about where we are, Brian, because so we can get an idea of what we're looking at here. We're standing in the middle of Romford Town Centre now. We've walked up here and at a crossroads in the middle of Romford Town Centre.
Yeah.
There's a busy market down there, isn't there? At this crossroads here, you can see there's a bank on one corner. I've got Lloyd's Bank over there. Yeah. I've got the cooperative over there. Yeah. But here on the corner is this Georgian building. And it's what the Golden Lion Hotel.
Yeah.
What's important about this?
It's Georgian refaced. It's actually older.
But what's special about this pub, this hotel? What's interesting about it to you?
Well, I've got a little theory. I can't prove this, but do you know the 9 Days Wonder?
No.
What a member of Shakespeare's drama, group, Kemp, he had a bet that he could dance to Norwich.
Dance to Norwich?
In 9 days.
From Romford? Is he mad?
From London. He's going to do it in stages.
I bet he would.
Yeah, so he had a tabourer drummer with him, and he was, although they fell out sometimes, I think he was a friend of Shakespeare.
Hang on, let's back a bit. Hang on. Is this the time of the time of Liberty? So was this building built in the time of the Liberty, when Liberty existed?
Yeah. Yes, well, this saw it all, didn't it? And as I say, it went right back to the manor, really.
These are all 1930s buildings around it.
Yeah.
But this one is original Georgian building.
Yeah,
so because this building here is
what was at the end here in the Liberty times was the jowl, and also the kind of where the directors of the Liberty met. Yeah.
I can see you're really attached to this town and Havering, aren't you?
Yeah.
Why do you love it?
I mean, there's things I don't love, but...
Let's focus on the things you do love. What do you love about Havering?
I just... I've been here and learn more and more and more all the time. You can go back and sort of think about people. It's sometimes difficult to explain about things, but you can really put yourself back in time.
We're standing now, right, in this busy market. It's thrumming with people. It's a lovely sunny day. Look, all these people out there. What do you think it's going to mean to these people? Because you love history of the area. But what's it going to mean to these people, the line being called the Liberty Line? What does it mean to them, do you think?
I think liberty's in people's minds because it's on the badge of the borough. Yeah. But they don't all associate it like me with being a bit cheeky.
I think people of Romford, will be very pleased to learn they can be cheeky as they like now with the Liberty Line.
Yeah, well, it's somebody who doesn't sort of sway with the others.
I think there are 3 things today, aren't there, named after Liberty. There's the Liberty Line, and there's 2 other landmarks, aren't there? There's the Liberty Shopping Centre.
Yeah, and Liberty School.
I'm delighted the Liberty Line is called Liberty Line because for me, it sits out by itself as a small independent railway,
right,
doesn't
yes.
it? As a little island by itself. The stories you've got of this place are wonderful. And I love the way you think, Brian, the way you think and the way you join. Oh, and look, the church clock's going off again. I mean, look at that. There we go, look. The way you make connections of local history and place and people are just are wonderful. They really
about
are.
People as well. Yeah, it should always be about people as well.
Look, Brian, you have saved the history of this town. You've carried on doing it. I think Liberty Line is carrying your work on in some way. Actually, it's
the
just
most
quite
marvellous
nice.
thing that's happened is that one lady mayor. When I told her the story, of us trying to get the museum, etc., I got and all the stuff we did to try and get the history remembered. I got a little label badge. I didn't bring it with me today, but it's a sort of Mayor of Havering's Award. That's bigger to me than any other honour.
How are you going to feel that first day the line is officially known the Liberty Line? How are you going to feel that first day?
Oh, just exultant, yes. Exultant is the word, yeah.
Oh, there is nothing like someone with passion and enthusiasm talking about the thing they love, is there? I mean, Brian, his lifetime's dedication and devotion to ensuring the past of his community is never, ever forgotten. And Ellen, too. I mean, I can tell you, honestly, that when they are storytelling, both of their eyes just light up. Like all of London, this borough has got a proud heritage, forging an identity from what people have reckoned has gone before them, and they pass it on. Their own identity is passed on and shaped by themselves, and that is a liberty everyone can enjoy. We're all free to do that. But with this new naming, there's a reiteration of that ancient story too, and I bet it'll intrigue the school kids and make for dinner table chat, I guess, all right across suburban Romford, Emerson Park and Upminster. In fact, everyone's going to have their own take on that story, aren't they? And that is the joy of history. Now, just one last time today, just let me get earnest, just for a minute, get serious on this, but bear with me. What is this name all about? Liberty, the Liberty Line. Maybe the liberty is about why it was built in the first place, because it was back in Victorian industrial times, funded by enterprising people who had the freedom to build it and had access to the rest of the world, for selling stuff and bringing stuff into their liberty of havering. That's a liberty in itself, having the freedom to build and have that enterprising nature. But then there's the Mayor's Office explanation, which says that the word celebrates the long-standing freedom that's a defining feature of London and the historical independence of the people of Havering. Well, that's that independence we talked about before, but Brian and Ellen's take goes on it a little bit one step further. The liberty of Havering, they say, I suppose, is more than just being saved from royal taxation and having their own courts. It's what did Brian say? He said it was cheekiness. It was independence and local people's opportunity to stand out. Like actually lots of London areas do too. And look, but people here, they saved the railway as well. And it's chiefly local people who stood up and stopped 2 attempts to close the railway in the 60s and the 70s. And that is liberty too, and freedom. This lightly used, almost rural-feeling branch line with a single train and chatty drivers and giving this much-loved service far away from the rest of the Overground, I think kind of makes this something of an enigma. But but it embodies to me what public transport's all about, because public transport is a freedom and a privilege that many of us have here in London, let's be honest. And because public transport creates mobility, and mobility is empowering to anyone who can do it, to access jobs, to earn and get to college, to go and get on in life, and perhaps seeing your Aunt Hilary if she's lonely, or go off on a date on town, or perhaps going off a train trip yourself if you're lonely. Indeed, it brings in tourists to make money in the city as well. We can hop on and off trains, tubes, buses, trams, boats, boats. I mean, bikes. Man, we're really lucky in this city. Public transport, our public transport, is a freedom. It really is. It's a liberty. And I reckon that is something, sometimes, perhaps, we take for granted. Thanks for listening to Mind the Gap. I've been your host, Tim Dunn, and this is a podcast created by 1860 for TfL. The producers were Verity DeCala, Clarissa Maycock and Marnie Woodmead. The executive producer for 1860 is Gareth Evans, and mix is by Rowan Bishop. The executive producer for TfL is Adrian Hyatt.